All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Starting a little bit later tonight. Facebook was making me change my password and all of that. So you know how that goes. I'm just so happy to be back and open mics. This makes me so happy. I miss all of you. I'm just so excited when people are reaching out to get back on the open mic. So thank you for your patience and support as I took the summer off to be with family and to travel. So I'm Frances, and this is the Minneapolis Poetry Sanctuary. And thank you for watching, and thank you for being with us tonight. And yeah, we've got a great lineup. So George, my buddy George, welcome. Good to see you. Let's hear some poetry.
Okay, thank you. My name is George Colburn. I've got 4 books out. One of them is out of print because it was published in 1973 when I was in college. But I have 3 other books that are available on Amazon. I've got 4 poems that I'd like to read tonight. The first one is something that happened to me when I was in Madrid many, many years ago. It's called Outside, the Basque Were Bombing. The lovely horticultural gardens in downtown Madrid, while I stood transfixed in front of the Mona Lisa in the Reina Sofia Museum Gallery, her enigmatic smile pondering how freedom turns, how time, paint, and affection eventually wane. The reverberations of liberation shook the marble floors, and smoke wisps curled as I cascaded down 100 steps, looked left in ignorance at the clouded flowers. When the sirens blared to stem the fire, the licking flames quelled, her smile stayed with me, as if she knew this persistence would fail to move the Spanish Cortes Generales, and Catalonia would remain gripped in iron. And Catalonia is still not independent, which is too bad. The second one is kind of whimsical. It's called Poem on the Road. It stuck its best metaphor out, hoping to catch a psychological eye, but even sonnets expressed their doubt and just winked while passing it by. A heroic couplet paused and then sped up, then turned itself into an epitaph. A parody held out a gold loving cup, but then pulled it back with a laugh. Many idioms shared the road that day, but not one of them chose to engage. So Poem declared it was good anyway and laid itself down on the page. This next one is also kind of whimsical. And for any who don't know, loup-garou is a French werewolf. Le loup-garou. Oh, I would miss your ever sweet kiss, your hugging too. I would be so blue if you were a loup-garou. Your slender arms all hairy, your teeth to fangs so scary, prowling your nightly purview. What a horrible breakthrough if you were a loup-garou. And when you'd awaken after you'd taken another poor life or two, an argument would ensue if you were a loup-garou. I'd scream at you and yell. I'd wish at a wishing well that somehow I could undo the curse of your monthly debut if you were a loup-garou. At last we might reconcile to this lycanthropic lifestyle, surrender to this wolfish taboo. I'd give you my arm to chew, so we could be loup-garou. The last one I want to read is about alcoholism. It's something that I observed, and I'm kind of sorry I did. It's called The Neighbors. She's a pessimist with a grocery list. She lives in the house next door, and lately has been drinking a lot without thinking, a little too much and then more. Because she can't face it, she drinks to erase it and ponders the fate of her days, a lonely young wife full of married life in a pleasant suburban haze. She used to be proud, spoke up in a crowd, very witty and unusually bright, but now she just walks and stupidly talks to her living room chairs every night. Her husband's a doctor and tries not to mock her for taking a nip now and then. He deals in neurosis and curing psychosis, but he's blind to the state that she's in. Last night he was late from a medical date and found her out cold on the floor. He thought she was ill because she lay there so still and ran to her side from the door. He started to shake her and tried hard to wake her, but she had gone over the brink. And after she died, he quite often tried to settle his sorrows with a drink. I can see him tonight by the living room light, pouring his thoughts over ice, mumbling to nothing about all of his suffering and filling his glass with the price. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. That was very different poems, and it just shows so much to your talent that you can tap into all those different layers. So thank you. Up next, we have Mike Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you, Francis, for having this open mic. I really enjoy it. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky, and I have one book published, Arranging Deck Chairs on the Titanic. It's political poetry I wrote during the Trump administration. I thought by now it would be out of date, but I fear that maybe it's not. But tonight I'm going to read something totally unrelated to that. I'm going to read sonnets. October Rose Sonnet. Growing in the wizened hands of autumn is an October rose, brilliant, bigger than June or July, a rose that neither confirms nor denies November's foreboding, a rose conjuring stillness, containing in her effulgent silence the pivot point of the universe, complete in her all-sided red, a fragrance free of grief, beauty's balance that cancels questions and answers, simple as a child, what Keats saw, where love went when we thought it was lost, a giving that loses nothing in the gift. Blind Stein said a rose is a rose no more, but October's rose is an open door. The next one is Ode to the Blood Turnip in sonnet form. You were planted in hanging gardens by 9th century Babylonian kings. Your root contains geosmin, petrichor smell of freshly plowed soil after spring rain. You're red with cancer-killing hetolanes, nutritious and antioxidant rich, a tryptophan and hetaine medicine that stimulates feeling of well-being. Aphrodite ate you for a reason. Your boron increases our sex hormones. You decorate erotic frescoes in brothels buried by Mount Vesuvius. Iron-rich, sugar-sweet, earthy surprise. Beta vulgaris, I have blood in my eyes. I actually wrote 3 poems for beats. I don't know why, but that was one of them. The next one is What a Piece of Work. Watching nervous breakdowns on Facebook, performance art seemingly improvised, proud firecrackers and quiet hummingbirds, holding space, holding breath, holding on. Social creatures share commonality. Kisses and punches both say, this is us. Twisted mysteries of hate love, define drama trauma, refine dharma karma, flash shiny chances to like, love, and care. Also, haha and wow, sad and angry, countable friends, that jar of loose change, posting content, giving the quintessence of dust a life with electricity, information, and pixelated light. The next one is called Fermented Sour Grapes. When I see my heart's desire was to be the highest tumblebug on the cow pie, believed king of a castle none can see, emperor's clothes of vanity, how I decry the expense, pity the pursuit, lament the labor lost in foolishness, I call determination. What a hoot! Was nothing more than my own mulishness. What now is the prudent course of action? Why beg or borrow, strategizing when moves like Jagger get no satisfaction, and every pleasure has pain for a twin? Destiny's a mystery I need not ask. To do by doing nothing, that's the task. And one more. It's called When I Buy the Farm, Will I Get? Success and failure seem so incomplete, spoiled by the peepers of the grim reaper, reminding there's no rock under my feet. Life's in time and space is not a keeper. My nature, my alignment and intent insist my I has meaning. I exist. But what when all I thought was mine is spent, remains a silent witness in the midst of memory's decay. Slowly the globe turns, lit by light that proves to be only shadow of an unseen sun, someone robed in nothing, beyond and never lonely. When I die, yet living still, albeit, will I see spirit or will I be it? Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mike. That second poem for me was especially amazing. What was it called again?
Was that the beat one?
Yes, yes. About the
Yeah. Ode to the Blood Turnip in sonnet form.
I am obsessed with like natural health and like what nutrients are in different things that we eat. So that was especially amazing for me. So thank you.
All that stuff is true about beets.
Oh, I believe it. I love beets. Like I will actually, finding like good pickled beets, you have to go to like the farmer's market. Everyone's like, you eat pickled beets. I'm like, you have no idea, they're so good. And I've tried making them myself and like roasting beets and everything. It is a nightmare. So I love that poem. So thank you so much.
You.
All right, well, up next we have Keith. Help me pronounce your last name correctly, please. I don't want to say it wrong.
That's okay. Piskur.
Piskur. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to. Yeah, thank you. Welcome. And I'm so
Thank
grateful
you.
to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I happened to meet you out at Art in Motion, and look forward to more things next year. And I will continue to keep sending you information on stuff happening in St. Cloud. I have 3 or 4 poems to read tonight. Let me know if I am getting close to going over, because I didn't ton them out. But my stuff, my writing, I've been a closet poet for like 28 years, writing mostly to keep sane during some stressful stuff. Never had the intention of sharing any of it with anyone except for my partner, and just started sharing about a year ago and got a pretty amazing response. And I'm grateful to every single one of them. Don't have any books yet, working on putting 28 years stuff together, and just got a mentorship and my first grant to have this mentorship, so I can learn the whole process of publishing. So I'm really excited. So anyway, I tend to write about disability issues, mixed orientation marriage, and being a partner of a person who is a sexual assault survivor, and they give me permission to use their story or my perspective of being their partner as they go through their story. And I want to be really specific that I'm not a survivor myself and will never pretend to know exactly what it's like. But I tend to know my stuff is good when I read it to my partner and they go, "Holy crap, what are you doing to me?" So my first one is on disability topics, called Morning Memorization, also known as paratransit and why I wheel most places every summer, because I do in my wheelchair. If I only had a dollar for every person, friend or stranger, who comes up to me and says, "Weren't you just wheeling that way earlier today?" "Yes." "And didn't I see you about 7 miles the other direction just yesterday?" "That was me." And now I will tell you why. Besides the fact that I'm the son of a loving physical therapist of a mother, this is me planning, scheduling rides every morning. Every morning of autumn, when it's too damn cold in the morning, looks like rain in the afternoon, and weather predictions are hopeful but really mean nothing until the weather actually happens. Every morning of Minnesota winters, when it's too damn cold and too damn snowy and simply too damn dark to get anywhere under my own power. Oh, shoot. Time to schedule rides again. First things first. What do I have going on today? What time do I have to be waiting at the door so that the accessible bus won't leave without me? Better add an extra 30 minutes just in case they're early, just in case my clocks don't match theirs exactly, just in case something unforeseen happens, just in case I forget something and have to go back in, just in case I have a phone call or a wheelchair issue, or my service dog needs to go potty, just in case, add 30 minutes, check. So, on to planning. What rides, if any, do I have to cancel for today? What events canceled on me? Were there any previous scheduling errors I need to fix? Is there anything I really don't want to attend that I had planned to attend. Is there anything I found another ride to or from? You know that the company is often overbooked anyway. They're happy to have open time, but only if I call and cancel at least 2 hours in advance. Them's the rules. What events do I have to be at in the next 7 days? After all, the company allows rides to be scheduled up to 7 days in advance. Seven, not 8. No same day rides. None, not a zip zero. Sorry, Charlie. Actually, sorry, not sorry. That's the rules. And first requested, first served. If a slot is open, I must plan ahead. So the rides, what rides do I need for tomorrow for the next 7 days? And what rides are most important to be at? What things are most important for me to schedule? I better mention those first because just in case I run out of energy, I want those done. Are there any events I need to be picked up at a certain time? Are there any events where I need to be dropped off and arrive at a certain time to prepare, to set up, to organize, to find my way around a building, to find accessible entrances, accessible bathrooms? Shit, I lost my brain again. Okay, focus, focus. You can do this, Keith. No, don't get distracted by Facebook. Focus. Shoot, got a phone call. Okay, focus. As I was saying, what did I screw up scheduling yesterday? I need to fix that first. Shoot, phone again. Crap. Something else canceled, and I have another thing that was rescheduled for a week later. Add that to the list. And now it's snowing. I better get out there and shovel because I know the snowplow company won't be here for 8 hours after it's done snowing, and I know the maintenance guy won't get around to it. Okay, shoot, time to call. I'm on hold again. I hate this on hold message. I hear it every damn day. Better not mock it too loud though, because just yesterday they heard me when they suddenly opened and picked up the phone. Why am I talking to myself? And this is my morning routine. So that's that's my first one. Second one, I like to do, this is the first poem I ever wrote about 20 years ago. I don't remember, I've only read one on this open mic before, I think, but I like to open this before talking about anything related to being a secondary survivor of assault. It's called I Don't Want to Speak Today. Frustration, confusion, brain farts, writer's block, money to raise, travel plans to make, daily schedule to maintain. On a mini writer's tour, speaker's tour, hoping to get my message out. I want to speak loudly. I want to speak clear. I want people to hear a story I wish I didn't have to tell. I do not enjoy speaking, not on this topic, but I will speak loud. I will speak clear, all the while hoping and praying hard that my words will put me out of business. And the last one I'll read, I will give a trigger warning to it. It talks about vaguely about intimacy. It's a brand new poem, been performed once. It's called I Sleep. Why do I talk about the subjects I do? I'll tell you why. Jenny H., Demetra, Jenny B., Autumn, Carrie, Trey, and many others. I sleep with 1,000 women every night. More exactly, I sleep with the memories of 1,000 women. But I digress. When I come on stage, when I enter a conversation, I often see their wheels spinning in their heads, predicting, interpreting my eventual topic as I negotiate curbs, ramps, mics, cords, electrical spaghetti, and the like. Their curious look as I begin. I use a wheelchair after all, and even I have not seen many like me on stage in front of crowds. Even I used to be more concerned about fitting in front of a crowd and was not where I wanted to be back then. So when I get up in front of a mic, I often see the look of expectation, expecting a table of lived discrimination, ableism to spill forth from my lips, or better yet, some inspiration porn story of beating all odds, charging forth against all measures of adversity. An interesting thing often happens when you're a psych major, a social work major in college, when you do similar work, when you're like me, you frequently find yourself in deep, deep conversations and topics most people wouldn't. Hearing stories, histories, memories, flashbacks, tales of horror, experienced, lived by those around me. And I'm tired. I'm willing, but I'm tired, not of listening, but of needing to listen, because our story, our screwed up, self-serving patriarchal society that won't listen and respect boundaries, won't learn what is myth and what is fact, won't learn and respect consent. And so when I hit the bed at night, so late that I can barely stay awake, I carry with me a heavy pillow, a stiff and rigid, unyielding blanket, memories of nightmares not my own, memories which will not release until society makes it happen. And so tonight, as I hit the bed, by design, too late to possibly keep my eyes open any longer, as I sleep with the memories of 1,000 women and even a few hundred men, survivors of unspeakable violence. Now you know why I write what I write. And I sleep with the memories of 1,000 women every night. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Keith, for just like finding the courage and just I'm like speechless. Like honestly, I'm just really grateful. I'm just honestly really grateful because one, it takes a lot of courage to read stuff like you did. And especially that if this is, these are poems you haven't read very often or at all. And so thank you for choosing to share these stories with us. I mean, that first one, especially for me, I feel like opened my mind so much to what you must go through. It was so like, I feel like I was in your head thinking all of the thoughts. Like that was so amazing how you captured that on paper. And
The
I
phone
think,
call one,
I'm sorry?
the one about planning my day.
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
what you're
I,
reading,
I
yeah.
also was very moved by that poem. It really gave me a picture of how you have to schedule your life so precisely according to other people's rules.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really opened my eyes to that, and I thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep
Go
reading,
ahead, Francis.
keep doing it, because these are, things that's how we grow and we learn as people, when people can open their hearts in a safe place. So thank you.
Absolutely. I come to poetry through, like I said, my own situation, and through public speaking, my partner and I, on the topics. So that was my first speaking. So we all have a story. It's just whether or not you tell it.
Absolutely.
Every single one of us.
Well, thank you, Keith, and I hope to have you again. And
I'll
up
be
next,
around.
we have Patrick Hansel. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm assuming you can hear me. Can you?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Patrick Cabello Hansel. I've been writing poetry for a long time, and I also teach writing, and I'm going to post a little something in the chat about we do an annual reading of poetry and music in the Holy Ground, which is a cemetery that's on the corner of Cedar and Lake. It's coming on October 5th, and I'm going to post the Facebook page for that. So I'm going to read poems from 3 of my books. One is not out yet. The first one is from, and I want to show you this book if I can. The first one is called The Devouring Land. And just to tell you a little bit about the cover, I was a pastor. I'm retired now for 35 years, the last 15 in the Phillips neighborhood of South Minneapolis. And these are 2 people from my congregation. They're immigrants from Chile, the woman, and Brazil is the man. They were married together. And the photo was taken by, she was a girl then, a young teenager, a dreamer, who came here when she was 8 months old. And she just graduated last year from St. Olive, the first of her family to go to college. So it's really a beautiful thing. And so I'm going to read one poem from there, which is, and when I'm writing about, I obviously change the names of the people if I'm connecting to the story. So this is a tragic story about immigration. It's called Keep Moving. We belong to the dust. The dust belongs to no one. Ask the bones of Domingo, who crossed into Arizona with his 6-year-old son, walking through the mountains, avoiding the desert snakes and the eyes burning a hole through the sky. On the 3rd day, they ran out of water. And on the 4th, Domingo began to run out, his skin tightening, his eyes wandering through heaven and earth, the heaven you make in your mind when flesh begins to die, skin for skin, bone to its bone, the heart's fierce surrender. There comes a moment in time when the mind can accept what the body knows. We belong to the sun. The sun belongs to no one. Domingo placed his right hand on his son's head, drew a crooked cross, commanded him on. The son obeyed with his feet. The last order of the living is the first wish of the dead. Keep moving. And then I'm going to read 2 poems from my second book, which is, this doesn't show as well, but I'll try to show it anyway. It's called Quitting Time. It's an extended elegy to my father, Walter. Walter was born in 1912 in North Dakota to immigrants, a German-speaking who came from a part of the world that was fought over, which is now part of Ukraine. And he grew up only speaking German until he went to kindergarten in 1917. And the first day at kindergarten, he was told that the children were told they would be hit if they spoke German because it was the enemy's language, because we're at war with them in World War I. Imagine that to a 5-year-old. And then was in World War II. He was in the army for 6 years and actually served in in France, Germany, and then in the occupation, he was a sergeant of an anti-aircraft unit. And this is a story that he told to me and not to my other brother. So it's called Falling. A man hung from his parachute like a seed softly whirligigging down, shouting, "Don't shoot, surrender," in the tongue of the enemy, your first tongue. He had no way to reach his weapon, but the men under you did, and in a minute, though your voice was raised and your rank commanded obedience, it was the county fair in Shreveport, in Pembina, in New Ulm, and New Prague. Step right up. Everyone wins a prize. The lights flashing, the girls all giggles and bullets, and a ribbon for the man who hits the nose. Then silence. The head of the boy on his chest, his body limp in its harness, gravity doing its work. The son of German cousins, perhaps the grandson of your grandfather's friend, spoiled blood over his uniform. Father, why did you tell me this story and not my brother's? Your memories are like your hands, big, calloused, open. His boots, newly shined, pulled him down to the earth he finally met as a shroud, a nothing, a home. Your men did not speak. They held their rifles across their chests as if bearing sick children. And then from the same book, this is the title poem, Quitting Time. My father was a barber, and I was the middle of three boys. So every third working evening, it would fall to me to walk down to his shop and sweep up the hair on the floor and then walk home with him. And so this is a poem about that. It's called Quitting Time. I sweep up the hair that lies like pigeon feathers on my father's shop floor. Callahan's red mixed with the dark Slavinsky's and Knauers and Rashavis, and one blonde Swede who must have snuck in just before 5. His candied fleece shimmers on top of the pile. Dad double counts the till and snaps caps back onto brown bottles of tonic and grunts with the weight of the day. And all of the men who sat in the chair while he plied their heads with scissors and razors and combs, the men from the plant still aching from cutting hogs and steers into bite-sized pieces, the men who smoke Camel Straights and hit their kids because God says it's good for them and because their hands were tied behind their backs by fathers whose tongues were stolen from them when they crossed the sea, all of them have trailed off into the twilight like fog, leaving their hair to sparkle under my broom, as my father and I work in silence and in hope of wings. So I don't know if you can see it. I still have a ponytail, but I grew a ponytail when I got to college, probably in reaction to having my hair cut all the time by my father. The book that's coming out in November is called Breathing in Minneapolis, and it's about what happened in our city of 2020 to 2022. We live just a couple blocks from Lake Street, and the church we pastored is 2 blocks from Lake Street. And so this is I wrote this after one morning after the fires, when I went out onto Lake Street. So this is after a poem by a poet named Jose Luis Peixoto, and it's called Unforgiven. I wake to a burning city. Unforgiven, I wake to a burning city and walk tenderly on the limbs of ghosts. I reach Lake Street as she scrambles to pick up scraps of her nightdress, glass, aluminum door frames, old wood, the stares of shop owners who've lost everything. No one breathes in my city today, the air burnt empty by nights of tear gas, rubber bullets, and slogans. 150 buildings set afire. I pick up pieces of junk, first with my eyes, then my fingers, useless prayers that must be done. No bells ring because time has been abandoned, and the child who walks alone inside me does not know where to find peace, or if he should. I'm going to read 2 more, I think. this is completely different here. This is a baseball poem, kind of in honor of the end of the season right now. And it's about that beloved, in quotes, stadium called the Metrodome. And when I took my daughter, who was 14 or 15 at the time, was a big Yankee and Derek Jeter fan, and we went with a whole group of Mexican baseball players from Minneapolis. It's called Spring Love. The flare is falling in no man's land north of 3rd as A-Rod, Jeter, and Matsui converge like planets portending some great event. Will it drop? Will it drop? And my Natasha is rising with the crowd, not to look at the ball, but to see Jeter. The only book she's read this year that she didn't have to is by him. And the Twins fans are yelling, fall in, fall in. And the Mexicanos from La Liga Hispana de Baseball, Yankees fans all from Guerrero and Puebla and Morelos are yelling, catch it, catch it. And as Matsui dives at the last second and snares the ball in his glove, all air is pulled from the Metrodome. But my Natasha shouts, I love you, Derek. And there is a smile on his face as he returns to short, a man accustomed to having things land in the right way. And then this is one of the final poems from that first book. It's called Cassiopeia, the Devouring Land. Cassiopeia is a lake in the Quetico. It's a long, narrow lake, very beautiful. And you can see pictographs done by native people hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. And this was a canoe trip with 3 of us, one of whom, Stephen, has died during COVID. And this is in honor of him, Cassiopeia. On a split rock lies a split fish, coaxed out of the deep by the dancing of Stephen's finger. He scrapes her scales with his teeth as he prays to her spirit. The sun splits a whisper of birch, speaks the season to their hearts. They bleed a wordless yes. The wind pulls a thin dance of breath along the silent lake. Thomas folds the tent like he's making a paper airplane, floats it into the canoe. I stir the coffee as it shrieks in its aluminum prison, wait with the hot butter for the fish. The fog of our breath is all we speak. The gentle loving of trees and wind is all we hear. It is morning, September, and there is nothing left unopened. We have slept deep, deep in the earth, and now we rise to eat and to journey on. As the fish grows into our flesh, we glide onto water in our seagoing soul and head for home, for parts unknown. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm always very excited and grateful when new people join us. And I was just blown away by your work. I mean, it's just, there were so many powerful lines. It was like I was trying to remember one before it was on to the next one. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the descriptions you had in the poem about the war. That was powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want to remind the poets that read tonight. So the comments that you put in the chat here will not transfer. So I would love for you to post the same things on the live video on the Facebook page. That would be helpful, and then people can view it there as well. So, well, thank you, everyone, and stay tuned. Let me look really quick. I know I have the next open mic scheduled. I'm just trying to see here really quick. I think it's let's see. Yeah, so October 25th will be the next open mic, and I hope y'all can make it. And I thought I would just read a quick poem tonight. So this one is from a manuscript that I've put together. I don't know. I'm even as an artist, like I never feel like anything's finished. Like I could still go in and work on paintings that I did 10, 15 years ago. But this is from a manuscript that I'm trying to complete and get out into the world. So this one is called Outside the Home. I wish I could go tell my young soul it's perfectly okay to find peace outside the home. You are doing everything you could, everything a small girl should. For some blessed reason, the textures of nature were far more comforting than, say, my bed linens or my skin against tub. The winged landscapes of leaves, the bumpy earth of sticks, even the delicate fabric of lichen are memorized, treasured for their offerings of simple love, safe enough to touch. Peace was the cool but sturdy rock in my mother's garden, the one where I often sat curled into myself with a daydream. Peace, too, were the lilies of the valley not far from the driveway, the rhubarb sprouting at the wood's edge, the chives of plenty by the deck steps. My friends there were mostly quiet and seemingly content. The call of the crow, the song of the chickadee, even the chipmunks chirping while chasing each other in a pile of leaves were the only voices I cared to need. A regular child's classroom may have been inside, but mine was outside. I learned the damp chill before rain, how the wind can get stuck on my back, and how the sun makes shadows on my cheek to tell me it's time to go home.
Hmm.
Thank you, everyone,
thank
so
you.
much. And stay tuned to the page for more details on the workshop and writing prompts. And yeah, thank you all again so much. Good night.
Yep. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Francis, for hosting this.
You're welcome.